Hello, my name is Guilherme Silveira and I'm happy to mediate today's panel with NYU faculty members. I used artificial intelligence, more specifically GPT-3, to feed the faculty background and generate all questions and answers. Each faculty member receives 2 questions. I recommend getting some popcorn, sitting back, relax, and enjoy the panel. Professor Ansari, what are your thoughts on the Decolonizing Design platform?
Decolonizing Design is a collective platform for activists, scholars, designers, and makers working towards a design for a just post-colonial world.
Back to you, Professor. What might we expect to see at the Architecture Design Research Lab in Karachi?
The Architecture Design Research Lab (ADRL) is a civic design studio and research laboratory exploring the intersections of architecture, activism, and social justice.
Professor Hurst, what do you hope your students get from their time with you?
I hope that my students learn about the shared and intersecting experiences of disability and technology.
Now, how do you think the Abilities project will change the way people with disabilities interact with technology?
Our work with the Abilities project will help people understand how they can both design for accessibility and work productively with technologies that are difficult to use.
Welcome, Professor Piantella. What are your thoughts on the connection between art and politics?
My thoughts on the connection between art and politics are that they are always connected and they always have been. Unfortunately, we are taught so much about the singularity of art in our culture, that you have to search harder and work harder to find the political implications.
And Professor Piantella, what is your opinion on the effectiveness of art in exposing the political injustice instead of just describing it?
My opinion on whether art is more effective in exposing the political injustice than just describing it is that art is a better way to show the political injustice because you see the injustice and you feel it.
Professor Ganis, have you ever had an experience with emerging technology that changed your life?
Yes, the latest technology that has affected me is AI, machine learning. We are at a point in humanity where technology can think for us and understand us better than we understand ourselves. We are entering a new era of humanity where art and creativity in the form of AI are taking over. There were specific moments in the field of artificial intelligence that have moved me, for example when DeepMind's AlphaZero AI beat the best chess programs in the world in a mere 4 hours.
And Professor, on the Human Presence and Humor Makes Us Better Storytellers panel at SXSW Interactive 2019, you said that you believe in the power of laughter. What are 2 examples?
There are 2 examples of the power of laughter in my work. One is the Comfortable Cat Project, where I take photographs of my cat in precarious situations like the edge of a table and while in an empty bathtub. I then create images that look like contemporary art. The other is textual graffiti. In this project I use graffiti to highlight the most embarrassing parts of human behavior. For example, I highlight awkward Tinder conversations and use chalk to alter things like street signs or sidewalks.
Professor Duff, what is the most challenging thing about the industry you work in?
The most challenging thing about the industry I work in is the rapid pace of change and the need to keep up with what's new in the field.
And Professor, what is the biggest lesson you learned from working in your current field?
The biggest lesson I learned from working in my current field is to apply a design thinking approach to problem solving in order to look for the desired outcome with a more creative and innovative mindset.
Professor Anaf, how do you reconcile your work in computational biology with your work in art?
I always design the tools I need to answer the questions I have about how living beings interact with their environment. This means that though I may not always be engaging in art, art is always a part of everything I do.
And Professor, what are your thoughts on the current renaissance in computational biology?
I am excited to see so many people doing computational biology in different ways, from studying protein folding to analyzing microbiome data. There is power in diversity.
Professor McDermott, what is your background and how has it influenced your work?
My background in installation, prop making and sculpture, combined with an interest in new media, design, performance, and video, have influenced my work, which combines fabrication with open-source hardware. I've been interested in technologies that are not productive, robots badly suited to absurd purposes, and electronics beyond my control.
And Professor, what is the significance of your work's materiality?
The work is influenced by the materiality of objects, in particular how they are used, their availability, and how they are seen by history. I am interested in the ways these objects are recycled, reused, and reimagined.
Now, Professor Saivov, how did you first become interested in art?
I first became interested in art while attending a summer program at Mass MoCA, through which I was exposed to contemporary artists and the creative practices.
Back to Professor Saivov, what are your thoughts on the current state of the art world?
I think that the art world has been heavily influenced by the proliferation of social media and the internet, and as a result is experiencing a shift in the balance of the way audiences engage with work in person.
Professor Dubois, what would you consider the main difference between sound art and music?
I consider sound art to be more about the sound and music to be more about the music. I have always seen music as an oral medium, in which the sound is the central object and the music is the framework which supports it. Music is about creating sequences of sound. Sound art is about providing an environment for sound.
And how do you think sound art can influence public perception and understanding of contemporary or historical events?
Sound art provides an alternate narrative to events. It can help contextualize a contemporary experience in relation to a historical event, or it can provide a new perspective on a historical event. In both cases, sound art provides a different perspective on the event and can help to elicit a different emotional response.
Welcome, Professor. How do you see augmented reality affecting the future of art?
I think that augmented reality is going to change the way we see the world. It will change the way we think about our surroundings and the way we think about art. I hope that augmented reality will have a democratizing effect on art because it will allow artists to create artwork in a way that is not based on those who can afford to go to art school.
Back to you, Professor. What have been some of your most memorable artistic experiences?
I've been able to create augmented reality art in many different environments and situations. One of my most memorable experiences was when I visited the Gaza Strip and created an augmented reality work with the Israeli and Palestinian sides of the conflict. It was great being in Palestine and talking to people about how they think about the conflict.
Professor Gilbert, what examples of work have you done in the past?
The projects I am currently working on include UX research for both an online and offline experience. I am also designing a web-based experience that is specifically for a demographic of users.
Now, Professor, can you tell me about any projects you are currently working on?
In the past, I have done UX research for a social networking site and designed the user experience for mobile and desktop applications.
Professor Fitzgerald, how do you define culture?
Culture is the sum of any society's customs, arts, beliefs, and traditions.
And finally, Professor, what are some of the themes you explore in performative networked devices?
My work draws on the idea of unseen power relations expressed through networked devices. I explore this through various themes, including the expressive capabilities of a device and its implications for human interaction, performative aspects of networked device design, subtle cybernetic relationships.
Welcome, Professor Brain. What was it like being an engineer and an artist for a long time and then transitioning to being a professor?
It was a challenge transitioning from being an artist to an educator. There are many new skills to learn and to be successful as an educator. I had to learn how to teach a new generation of students that are different from what I had grown up with. Beyond that, I was coming from a world of doing research and making work that was very different from what I was now teaching. There were new materials to learn and new ways of thinking that were needed to be successful in the classroom.
Back to Professor Brain, what do you believe the most revolutionary technological advancement has been recently?
I think that the most revolutionary technological advancement is the development of digital fabrication. This concept is one that is not really new, but it is one that has been more fully embraced by the mainstream.
I want to thank all faculty members for being here today. My name is Guilherme Silveira. See you next time.